What's going on, man? It's your boy Ray Rock, and you've hit the best YouTube channel on the face of the planet. Yes, you have. Where we rate rhymes, geek out on the latest in productions, and even interview my friends. And at this moment, at this very moment, I have a special guest. But wait, I can't just tell you who he is. I got to give you a little nugget. You know what I'm saying? He has a massive pencil collection. You probably didn't know that he was in a screamo hardcore band and a DJ. Who's a screamo, and he loves ET a lot. Ladies and gentlemen, can I introduce to you my friend Tiago Margot? Make some noise. Ah! Tiago, what's up, man?
What's up, my brother? What up, Ray?
Was that a good introduction? I mean, is
the best, bro? I think that's the best introduction I ever had. The only thing they say, like, yo, this is Tiago, he does art. Like, okay, great. You definitely don't know me. You know me because you're my friend, bro. Love you, bro. Love the introduction. By the way, how do you know about the pencil collection?
You know what? I had to investigate about that. I always heard you say stuff about pencils, and like, honestly, I thought you would be joking around because, like, sometimes, when you're friends with somebody, you're like, hey man, yo, your birthday's coming around or Christmas is coming around, man. What do you want? You know what I'm saying? Like, you want something, and you know what I mean? And like, it kind of sounds very condescending when somebody tells you, yo man, give me some pencils, and you're like, what? Pencils?
Wait, it's crazy because the fact of, like, so my family, like, they ask me, like, what do you want for Christmas? And I literally say, like, like, now I'm like, yo, give me pencils. And they, like, look at me like, Christmas, pencils, whatever. They never take me serious, but I really want pencils.
And here's a funny, like, I had to talk to your wife because I was like, what's up with this pencil thing, and and she goes, Ray, it's a massive collection at first, and they cannot be sharpened prior to be given to him. He has to have, he has to have it like nice and neat before anyone touches it. And so, just to get it started, man, this infatuation with pencils. I know you're an artist, but tell me, what about, having a large collection of pencils means to you?
Bro, it's funny because everything started when I was, like, probably like kindergarten. Like, it was like, I think even last, like, yeah, I think around that. I remember, like, back in the days we used to use pencils, right? And literally, I think every good thing that you did in the class, the teacher would give you a really nice pencil. But because I was not the best student ever, right? The only thing I want to do is art. So automatic, I never got the nice pencil. So what I did is, I was like, you know what? I'm going to start buying my nice pencils, or asking for Christmas or asking for birthday to my mom. Say, yo, mom, just give me the pencil. Like, give me this set of pencils. I think it's cool. And back in the days, they used to have a lot of designs on it.
Oh yeah, like student of the month, like.
Exactly. So some of them had the flag, the whole world flag pencil. And then, like, like the nice people, like, will have, like, oh, I went to this hotel and they have a pencil thing. Then they brought the pencil from the trip that they took, the city that they went and visited. So, like, automatic, I was like, man, I just want to start, like, doing this. I want to get nice pencils. And it became this thing that, like, you know what? As I'm progressing in collecting them, was like so many, I put in boxes and stuff like that, that I came in a conclusion saying, you know what? If I have kids, one day I'll have kids, what I do is, every good thing that they did, I'll give a nice pencil, right?
Wow.
But not thinking the fact that today is so digital.
I know.
Probably Kaya's going to get to the age that he's going to start using pencil. He's only 3 right now. He's about to go to school with 4 years old. So when we give him a pencil, he's going to look at me like, all right, Dad, like, what is this? But it's cool concept. Like, I created since kid. I never want to let go. I love, like, for some reason, I really love the pencil.
Oh man. So, I mean, Tiago, like, just to get more about your background, like, tell everybody who doesn't know who you are, where you're from, and what you do.
So I'm originally from Brazil, São Paulo, Brazil. I I grew up there when until my 17, 18 years old. Moved to US. Family moved to US and started pretty much doing art here. But I my whole life I've been doing art since kid, since the whole thing. It's funny because it's like a true story. Like when you believe in like American dream. I know it's a cliche thing to say it, but I always had that back in my mind that like one day I want to be a full time artist and I want to do this not only to bless my family but to bless people around me and to not necessarily like in like all ways, like different ways to bless people as far as encouragement and stuff like that, that we can do this, and I think like the US gave me the opportunity, even though in the beginning, as an immigrant kid, I came here, I was an immigrant. I could not go to school, to college. The only choice I had was to go to work. I had to work to supply for my family and help my family to live this life that here in US. So I felt like I got shut down completely, but I didn't stop because I didn't have college. I didn't stop because the situation around me. So I had to just have continue doing art when I was doing in Brazil, and I continue on here, and that's was like the main passion. I say with art start like as very young, and then that was a great opportunity. You asked to give more different setups that I could do it. I remember, like trying to do the best, but I see it, in a long run of like the whole things of my life, like uh, it was a lot of the college. I think like the college I see it now was my life. I think like the situations and phases of life was my college. I learned a lot through living different processes. By the way, go to college. I'm not here to guys say don't go to college or don't do this, but please go to college, invest in yourself, do it. Especially now, empower yourself. Like that's the best setup ever. I didn't have a chance to do it, but because I didn't have a chance to do it, I figured out a way to still invest in me. So the street, or when I say street, is like in general, like living the street, like the art and the general, like YouTubes and like the general museums, books and stuff that I was like having access. That's what was my college, and from that became like this huge passion. I already had like a huge passion about the American culture. I think like American culture is super rich in rich in different things, like in visual, in propagandas, and it is amazing, right? So the music, like we talk about music, man. Like I remember like back in the days, like in Brazil, like I'm growing up, one of my first hip hop shows in Brazil was when Public Enemy went to do a tour in Brazil. That was 1992.
Wow.
So that was my first concert of hip hop. So then after that, I remember like buying a vinyl because, okay, so the vinyls that time was super expensive in Brazil because think about it, was exported, right? So when it got there, it was triple price. So when we got there, I was like, man, I used to love all those like, the covers of the albums, the hip hop albums. Like we talk about, and the whole New York era, man. Like, like New York, I'm sorry, to me, it's still like the mecca of hip hop. And to me, it was just like watching everything that was happening in New York, in Brazil, that built my culture to be very connected to US. So when I moved here, it was like, man, I know what I want to do. I want to help the culture here too. So I think that's what my little story about art. Lived in New York for a while. I think New York was one of the best like place I lived, and were able to just develop this street in me. I don't consider myself like a particular artist. Like I'm a street artist. I'm a fine artist. I'm a installation artist. I'm collage. I'm pretty much do everything that I feel that have a powerful message to people see the visual. But New York was a great schooling. So my experience, coming here, living in South Florida, Miami, talk about Miami, man, I was in the 90s in here, Miami, 95, 96.
Oof.
Man, that was like the whole, like scene was Miami bass. I'm talking about like all those stuff, all those influence when it comes to music, but also the visuals. You talk about the deco art, the colors, the palettes, the sunrise, the sunsets of Miami. Like so those are all schooling for me. It was my schooling. I took as a schooling, as a college. And I think I learned it from there a lot. That's what maybe the artist that I am today.
Wow. You said so many good things there. I want to like pitch a tent on this concept that I talk a lot with my friends about, and this idea that that everyone is an artist. You know what I mean? In their own way, and basically the art that we create is basically a culmination of our experiences, of impressions, of relationships, and the relationships we make with those observations and those impressions and stuff like that. And once we make these observations, right, and we have these impressions, and then we relate them to something that we do, then the outcome is some type of art, right? And even in the way we speak, right? Somebody says, oh, you have a New York accent, right? But in all reality, a New York accent is just the impression of Italians and Northern people that live up in New York,
That's good.
that spoke in a certain way. So my whole thing is, you said a few things there about how there was these moments in your life that played a role, right, to in the art that you do. Can you tell me about some observations that still resonate with you? Like you mentioned how you were in New York and you saw certain things, and you were in Miami and you talked about the Art Deco stuff like that, and you were even seeing certain concerts. What a lot of people don't know is that your dad used to work at a concert venue and used to see concerts all the time, and so and so like dude. So tell me about some of the observations that you were making. Like, give me two observations that you made as a kid, going to these concerts, right? And give me two observations from New York.
Man, that like you got me shocked. Like I'm like, because I think that was like one of the highlights of my life. I think my dad working what is the biggest show arena in São Paulo. Like São Paulo is like a big city. So it's like a New York, like a mecca of all shows. So man, I was backstage with Kiss, because my dad. I was backstage with like freaking Deep Purple, not understanding it was Deep Purple, not understanding Kiss was. It was just like I was like a kid. I was like a 10, 11, 12 years old. So I'm like, my dad is just like getting me all this access because he wanted me to take photos with these people, and like me, it was like, man. I'm like entering this world that I didn't realize, like, so I was like, early age, I had access to a lot of backstage, a lot of people don't know. I never mentioned this. Wow, that's crazy. But I never mentioned this to nobody, but it was like a surreal kind of way when I see people here saying, oh, but I was like, like Ozzy, was backstage, and I was like eating the same food. Because I was the kid in the backyard, like my dad used to run the whole place. So I used to come with my dad, and my dad said, you know what, stay there because you'll be safe, because you got security. So then instead of me going in the crowd, I used to stay backstage, and people in the venue, the security team, the promoters knew me, and they always like, oh, that's so-and-so's son. Yo, come and visit this. Oh, come and stay in the back, the green room. So my green room experience was not the green room experience that I have in here. It's like, it was just, to me, it was like a backyard. It was like, let me chill there, eat their food because their food is freaking great, So it was unbelievable.
You know what's so crazy about this is that your backyard, right? You know, my backyard was like hanging out with my cousins or something like that, going down a slip and slide or something like that. Your backyard was literally filled with people expressing themselves at their highest artistic level. I mean, Kiss is Kiss is a good example of a band that not only do they play well, but you know the outer world characters that each of them were, and the painting, the face painting, the costumes, you know, what amazing impressions did you get as a child? Can you give me a couple from New York, a couple impressions that you get?
So me seeing that from Brazil, I used to take like a summer trips to US because we have friends, family here. Before my daddy lost everything in Brazil, we had to move to US. So that time, in between time, I still had a chance to come here and visit on summer times. So my first experience was New York. When I landed to New York, to me it was very similar home. It was my backyard because big city, São Paulo, music, events here and there, the speed, the culture, the people knows art, people like, you know, like it's articulation, like a culture very wide, like it's very rich culture people, you know. I'm not saying every place it is, but like it's very similar to where I was from, São Paulo, like so much visual. So when I got when we got to New York, it was a better version. I don't want to offend people from Brazil, but it was a better version of São Paulo.
Yeah,
So
of course. I mean, like that's not even a jab. It's just because things have progressed. Progressed. I mean, right now, New York is trying to be like São Paulo now. New York is trying to go back to São Paulo, right? They're trying to glean from them.
yeah, so to me it was like automatic. I was like, man, this is freaking what I'm dreaming. Like I saw all this,
Skyscrapers, the street art.
bro, like the subways. What? Like I caught the last trains, like all the last trains, 5 points. We talk like, bro, we talk about like New York was like overload of like you know when you go download a program like a Matrix. I was like they're downloading all this New York art, overload, everything overload, almost fry myself. But when I got there, it was like experience, you know, like it was just, man, you see the community of the punk rock, then you see the community of the hip hop, you see the community East Village, you know, you see all these communities in there in New York that made me feel like, man, I'm part of the movie now. It was like a movie to me. And like the first thing that stick to me was going to the streets and seeing all the posters, all the main posters, like show. But even though it said post no bill, people are posting bunch of like concert posters, you know, Nirvana, Pearl Jam, it was like that era, Guns N' Roses, bro. I remember like seeing like a bunch of Guns N' Roses posters. I wish I could have a digital camera, you know.
No reprints. This is like straight hand drawn, you know, posters that you were seeing.
Lithograph.
Yeah, lithograph.
Bro, people in the street just posting it. And
Yeah.
then also to the museums. You know, I got exposed to museums when I was in New York.
Yeah,
You know, the Met,
yeah,
the Met Museum. Like you can say all you want. Like you can I'm a modern guy. Like I love all type of art. But like a Met Museum, I can stay for hours there. It's
Oh, yeah.
so much story. It's so much history in there. It's so many stories like in history to the point that you're like, man. So that was the thing that when New York was like to me, it was like, whoa, that's it.
Man, that's incredible, man. Thank you so much for sharing that, man. That is, you know, you mentioned a couple of key things, you know, even geographical things that people today in New York will never experience, or unless there's like a museum with one of these, and that's like seeing, you know, the, you know. The Donda graffiti on the subways, you know, and the and 5 Points in Queens, you know, which, you know, rest in peace. They knocked it down a few years ago, you know, and they're thinking of putting something else up, you know, but some developer bought it and tore it down. What great things, and I'm reiterating some of these things because I'm sure people are gonna want to look these up.